Hello, welcome to Ikate's Crossing as we continue our exploration of Journey of the Heart by John Welwood, The Path to Conscious Love. Okay, we're up to part 2 in this book and we're up to Personal Path with this chapter 6. I just want to read this before I pull a card from Vesta's Art or Love Oracle, a deck that I created with my digital art. Anyway, it says, threading its way along the boundary between our larger being and our karmic patterns, joining heaven and earth. The path of love has both a personal and a sacred side. On the personal level, intimate relationships call on us to expand our capacities and develop greater wholeness as individuals. Beyond that, the love between man and woman also prevents, or man and man, or woman and woman, between two people, also presents a sacred challenge to go beyond the single-minded pursuit of purely personal gratifications and tap into the larger energies of life as a whole. When love becomes a vehicle for tuning into the great mysteries of creation all around us, tuning into the great mysteries of creation all around us, it provides a deeper sense of purpose and direction. The personal and the sacred are two overlapping sides of one and the same path. Okay, I want to make this really clear, that when I'm reading the book, I'm thinking about people that love people, and no matter who they are, whether it's man and woman, man and man, woman and woman, whatever, or whether it's non-gender, non-biased, that gender, there's no gender bias at all. It's all about that whole personal interaction between two people and whatever that means for you. I want to make that really, really clear. This is about all love from different perspectives within different people. There's no particular correct path. Okay, all paths are correct when it comes to love. Okay, falling in love, passion as path. Without warning, as a whirlwind swoops upon an oak, love shakes my heart, by Sappho. Great love can both take hold and let go. A.R. Orage. Okay, so before we do that, let's pull a card for us to reflect on while I'm reading this. Let's have a look and see, what are we focusing on in regards to this chapter 6, in regards to falling in love, having that passion. What are you going to tell us? Okay, so the first card tells us there's a gap in the wall. There is something missing in life, right? That's the whole point of this. We do feel like there is something missing in our life in some way. And so we have to make sure that we enjoy each moment for what it is. We have to embrace the beautiful moments that we have in our own life, because if we don't embrace them, if we don't enjoy them, if we don't acknowledge those beautiful moments, there is definitely, that gap is going to get larger in our life. So that's something to sort of think about as we move through this journey. Think about what's missing. And now it's time to think about all those beautiful moments that you weren't really fully aware of. It's time to reflect on those beautiful moments. It's time to bring those moments back into our life. It's time to focus on the positive, well, not just the positive, but the most beautiful moments in this time. We looked at what's missing, right? We're looking at, so, oh my God, this world is terrible. We don't have what we want. We don't have this, we don't have that. We've got this thing that's missing. We acknowledge those things that are missing. Now it's time to acknowledge on what you do have. Think about the beautiful moments that you do have. It's that yin and yang energy. It definitely feels like you've got this opposite energy coming in, and so you've got those things that or what you don't have. Okay, now it's time to think about the things that you do have and that you want more of. Okay, so number 6, falling in love, passion as path. Suddenly, out of nowhere, we are struck by the expression on another's face. how he or she speaks, moves, or looks at us. Some quality of beauty penetrates us and also almost makes us ache, stirring a desire to reach out and make contact. This is the energy of passion. Love's passion is a powerful force that has both inspired and destroyed countless lovers through the ages. One moment it can feel like divine grace. The next moment it can sweep us away in the torrent of hopes and fears that blind us, bend us out of shape, and leave us hurt and delusioned. As a student once remarked, no experience has ever made me feel so intensely alive, yet so confused and out of touch at the same time. We have no idea where this intensity of feeling comes from, why it drives us as it does, and where it will lead. No wonder so many people are either addicted to falling in love or scared to death of it, or both at the same time. In societies where arranged marriages are the norms, falling in love is rare and of little consequence. When it does appear, it is dismissed as a temporary form of madness, a youthful folly. In our society, we accord it greater importance, since it gives birth to the romantic feelings that often lead to marriage. Yet, its sudden eruption has also torn many marriages and lives apart. So our culture is tremendously ambivalent towards passion, alternatively glorifying it as a stairway to heaven that will lift us above the pain of the world, and denouncing it as a pathway to hell that will drag us down into the mere of animal lust. Some writers regard falling in love as a rare moment of clearly perceiving another person's deepest essence. Others see it as a hormonal frenzy, or in Scott Peck's words, a trick our genes pull on us to hoodwink us into marriage. How can falling in love stir up such different reactions and lend to such opposite conclusions? Must passion inevitably breed illusion, causing us to lose our seat and act in ways we later regret? Or can it help us bridge the two sides of our nature and thus connect with life more wholeheartedly? Can a couple continue to draw on it for energy and inspiration, even after many years of being together? Since passion provides powerful fuel propelling a couple's journey forward, it is important to distinguish what is real in this experience from what is delusional. Relating to passion in a sane and healthy way is the first and one of the greatest challenges in a relationship. The spark of passion. Passion is the spark of excitement we feel when we stand on the edge of the unknown. It arises at the boundary where two different worlds rub up against each other. Self and outer, inner and outer, familiar patterns and uncharted possibilities. Yin and yang energy. What is the beloved? She is that which I am not. In one of his poems, Lawrence conveys this impassioned sense of wonder. I put out my hand in the night, one night, and my hand touched that which was verily not me. It was the unknown. The other, strange green eyes and land that beats with a pulse. She has strange mounted breasts, and strange sheer slopes and white levels. I touch her flank and knew I was carried over into the new world. When we fall in love, a new world opens up, leaping across the boundaries of self and other. The spark of passion lights up the night, providing sudden glimpses of mystery and depth. Passion is an intense quality of energized presence that puts us in touch with fullness and richness of being alive. We can fall in love in little ways at any moment. Suddenly something or someone takes our breath away. We feel an expansive or fluttery sensation in our chest, and we taste what it is like to be fully present, if only for a fleeting instant. This can happen upon waking to a fine spring morning, with the sunlight filtering through the new greenery. Upon suddenly catching a glimpse of the open sea after long travelling, or when the ripe, pungent earth fills our senses on a crisp autumn afternoon. I have found at times of heightened perception, such as in meditation retreats or in groups of people who are communicating deeply, that it is not hard to fall in love several times a day. That is, to keep finding myself deeply moved, not only by the people there, but also by the landscape, the sounds of the forest, the moon at night, or the changing patterns of wind, light, clouds, and rain. Although this vividness of perception may seem special, it is also quite ordinary. If it be magic, it is ordinary magic, because it is only a keener awareness of what is already there. Though we cannot hold on to such moments, they leave us with a sense of what life could be like if we could live more often at this threshold of vivid presence. Passion, conditional and unconditional. Passion's essential nature is spontaneous and unconditional because it is unfabricated, since our very being is open to being with is naturally resonates and wants to connect with what is greater than ourselves, the vastness of life itself. Passion is the feeling of life wanting to reconnect with life, life inside us connecting with life outside. To fall in love is to feel the basic openness of our being, the swelling of passion, which makes us feel so full and rich, makes our usual state of distraction and disconnectedness seem pale and impoverished by contrast. Yet here is where we also start to fall into delusion, for we usually imagine the object of our passion to be the source of this newfound fullness. This makes us try to grasp and hold on to the one who sparks such an intense feeling of aliveness inside us. The inexhaustible richness of life is, in Buddhist terms, a wish-fulfilling gem, because it provides us with everything we need. Yet, when we fall in love, we usually imagine the beloved rather than life itself to be the wish-fulfilling gem who could make all our dreams come true. So to the extent that we do not feel deeply connected with the life moving inside us, we come to depend on something outside of ourselves to enrich us. In regarding the focus of our passion, the beloved as a treasure to possess, we convert our unconditional passion into something conditional and grasping. How alive I would feel, how beautiful life would be if only this person belonged to me. Yet grasping at another person only magnifies our inner sense of poverty and leads to the torments of romantic addiction and obsession. Love becomes a drug, and the loved one becomes the addicted lover's fix. Unconditional passion has no agenda. It is like the freely radiating energy of the sun. Yet, if I identify my beloved as the source of this powerful energy, then I must have her, and my passion turns into an obsessive, blinding, fatal attraction. No wonder the great love tales usually end in tragedy. Those who try to carry such a burden for others, such as Romeo and Juliet, or even Marilyn Monroe, die young. Yet it is important to distinguish here between seeing another as the source of our passion, which always leads to distortion and addiction, and allowing another to be the focus of our passion, which is not in itself a problem. Passion becomes problematic when we confuse focus with source, imagining that the one toward whom our passion flows is the cause of our feeling so alive. The natural activity of passion is to connect intensely, whether it be with the colour of the sky, our life's work, or the presence of our beloved. Of course, we do not feel equally passionate towards just anyone or anything that comes along. Only certain forms or qualities awaken our energy and inspire it to flow towards them. Yet when we imagine that the conditional focus of our passion is the unconditional source of our aliveness, we throw ourselves into a state of inner impoverishment and confusion. Peter Trachtenberg, in his book The Casanova Complex, describes this kind of tormented passion in this way. When I met a woman who attracted me, my desire for her was immediate and crippling, a hammer blow to the heart. In the beginning there was just that longing, and the sense of myself as the starving orphan gazing through a window at the happy family sitting down to dinner. I had to see her again and again, to conquer her in different ways. It might take a few days to a few years, a whole relationship based on hunger and frustration. Yet he eventually understood that nothing outside of him could fill his inner sense of poverty, For he concludes, "For my part, I yearned for something no woman could ever give me." Idolizing the beloved. What is it, then, that the lover really yearns for? Consider the situation of Joanna, a woman in her early 30s, who had been driven to despair by a series of brief affairs that led nowhere. She would repeatedly find herself building up intense feelings about men after a few dates, based on a wild, unrealistic dreams of total fulfillment. At first she would inflate a lover to epic proportions, only to crash in delusion within a few weeks or months. Then she would go through a period of cynical isolation until the next potential saviour came along. She came in for counselling out of a need to understand why her passion took such strange turns, firing her up with inflated hopes one moment, then just as suddenly dashing her on the ground. She no longer trusted that she could feel passionate without becoming swept up by tides of uncontrollable fantasies and emotions. How could such an otherwise intelligent and perceptive woman repeatedly endow her lovers with an almost godlike status? What was she really looking for? Idolizing someone we fall in love with is an example of a strange trick we play on ourselves, what psychologists call projection. Simply stated, this means heightened sensitivity to certain qualities in another person that we fail to acknowledge in ourselves. The classic example is the person who does not acknowledge his own aggression, but imagines that other people are out to get him. When romantically idolizing someone, we project not our own unacknowledged negative feelings, but all the power, beauty, and richness of our being, which we usually fail to recognize inside us. Human's nature is vast. Our being actually reflects and contains a whole range of peaceful and wrathful energies of heaven and earth, fire and water, sun and stars. But we usually inhabit only a small portion of our being. We live on the island of our conditioned self, a complex of memories, notions, and images of ourselves that constitute our identity as we know it. Yet the larger expanse of our being, its vastness, intensity, and depth, we do not usually identify as intimately our own, even though this larger being is more truly who we are, since it is not an invention like our self-images. We do not know it is our true nature, since we have had a hard time perceiving our own vastness and beauty. We project it outward instead, where it is easier to see, just as the individual who denies his anger finds it coming back at him from the world. So we discover the radiance of our own being in and through our beloved, who mirrors it back to us. We are dazzled by what we see. We want it, we must have it at any cost. Since we can't live without it, for it is, after all, our own being, we wind up not only addicted, but further alienated from ourselves as well. Certainly this was true for Joanna. She felt fully alive only when she was in a relationship with a man. Most psychoanalysts would explain this as a result of her early childhood, when she tried to win the favours of her father, whom she saw as larger than life. Indeed, our choice of intimate partners is always partially determined by old images based on unfulfilled childhood wishes and needs. This template of images that we carry from the past is what produces the particular distortions, the typical kinds of unrealistic fantasies and conflicting emotions that we each go through when we fall in love. Nevertheless, something larger still wants to shine through this overlay from the past. How could we envision such radiance and beauty in others in the first place if we did not already have some sense of power and greatness inside us? At the root of Joanna's need to win her father's love was a deeper, more basic need to feel the goodness and fullness of her own being, and to know that it was indeed worth celebrating. Abraham Maslow once wrote that we are generally afraid to become that which we glimpse in our most perfect moments, no doubt because our larger being threatens us in many ways. If we were to open to it fully, perhaps it would disrupt our cozy little habits and throw our familiar small identity into question. So just as early peoples worshipped as gods what they feared and did not understand, so we, who are primitives in regard to our larger beings, tend to worship our greater powers at a safe distance, by letting others carry them for us. Thus we fall for the beloved whom we place above us, granting him or her power to uplift us from our fallen state of hunger and unworthiness. Idolizing the beloved inflates us and makes us feel high, as the lofty metaphors used to describe the state suggests. Okay, so that's it for the moment. I am going to do part 2 of this chapter shortly, and you will get it next week. I just want to try and do a little bit of a time so you can sort of just go back, re-listen to it a couple of times, have a little bit of a focus, think about this part of the chapter, think about the words a little bit more, and don't forget to check the links down below, check the links on my channel, like, subscribe and ring the bell so you know when the next video will be uploaded. Take care and blessed be.